Hello guys, welcome to another session. So here in this video, we are going to start with thinkers. So I'll give you a brief idea about all the thinkers that's there in your syllabus. We'll start with Marx, Durkheim, Weber, Mead, and then we'll give an overview. So I'll divide this into 5 parts, and this is again going to be 5 to 7 minute series. And then tomorrow onwards, I'll be starting with each of these thinkers. So we'll look at socio-economic political context of each thinkers, and then we'll look at the perspectives of each of these, and then we'll look at the methods used by these thinkers and their views on individual and society, and that also different. So we'll try to understand, like, this session is going to be an overview of what we are going to study in the next maybe 20 sessions. Okay, so we are beginning one of the most important part of sociology, that's the sociological thinkers. And when it comes to UPSC sociology, these thinkers that form the core foundation, or this is the foundation, and almost 60% of your paper one that revolves around their ideas, directly or indirectly. So if I talk about indirectly, even paper two also, almost everything is connected, though it's in the Indian context, and it's 60 to 70% if I add indirectly also. So once you understand them well, and if you can apply it, and if you can interlink them with the ideas that we are going to learn in other chapters, then these are the thinkers that you're going to study in stratification, which you have already seen: Marx, Weber, Davis and Booth. That's not part of the syllabus, there only you are studying. You'll see them in religion, you'll see them in family, you'll see them in social change, you'll see them in politics. So each of the chapters that we are going to see from here onwards, you will be seeing each of these thinkers that we are going to discuss. So if I need to give a brief overview of the thinkers, first we'll look at Karl Marx, his time period. Like, if you see the productive years from 1840 to 1883, German thinker. And then Émile Durkheim, his productive years that you'll see maximum writing during 1890 to 1917, French thinker. And then Max Weber, so his productive year 1900 to 1920, again a German thinker. And then comes G.H. Mead, an American sociologist, so productive year from 1910 to 1931. Then comes Talcott Parsons, so again an American sociologist, productive years is 1937 to 1979. And then Merton, 1949 to 2003, who's again an American thinker. So you will see all these are connected in one way or the other. Karl Marx, almost opposite is what Max Weber is going to talk about, and Émile Durkheim is giving a functionalist perspective, and Talcott Parsons you can consider a extension of Weber, right? And a kind of student of Weber also you can consider in this way. I'll talk about that later. And then Merton is a student of Parsons. So almost all these are connected. And when we discuss the scope of sociology, I told you Émile Durkheim, macro approach; Weber, micro approach; Mead, micro approach; Parsons, Merton going for integrated approach. So all those things we have discussed in that session. Now, if you look at the political and socio-economic context, see, if you want to understand any sociologist or any of these thinkers, you must first understand the context in which they are writing, right? So if you understand their context, then you can think from their shoe. The early European thinkers, if you see Weber, Marx, Durkheim, and if you look at their approach, you will understand they were actually responding to the massive social changes which is happening in Europe at that point of time. Industrialization have transformed, production and the work life. Complete drastic changes you have seen due to modernization, right? Modernity, the democratization and revolutions that were reshaping the power and political aspect also. And you see traditional institutions were breaking down and people were searching for a new social order. So this is the context in which early sociologists like Marx, Durkheim, Weber, they were formulating their understanding. And all these thinkers, they were trying to answer one core fundamental question, that in this changing world, how can social order be maintained? And that attempt is what, Durkheim is trying to give in all his theories, whether it is theory of religion, he is explaining how things are getting, stronger in terms of organic solidarity, or especially in division of labor theory, right? In terms of mechanical organic solidarity, is talking about traditional modern society. I'll come to this because we are just starting with the thinkers. But since it's a revision session, I'm expecting that you might have already gone through the theories and you know that. Now, their answers differed because their perspectives and methods are different, right? So Marx used, conflict approach, and, he have understood inequality as the basis of society, haves and have-nots. So their writing is in the similar context, but their understanding or the theories or the things are different because of the perspective. And Durkheim saw cooperation and shared values as the basis, and he have used a functionalist approach. And Weber looked at meanings, emotions, motives, ideas, and human actions as central to his understanding. Later in America, Mead focused on the self and interaction part. Parsons, Merton worked on the context of post-World War II. That means the welfare state started emerging, the colonialization is over, exploitation is over, and welfare state is there everywhere. So their focus have shifted to maintaining social order and the system stability. So the initial European thinkers, they were facing the chaos and they were writing in a different context. And the American sociologists or the thinkers, they faced the challenges of managing the order, and they were writing post World War II. So the situations and the scenarios are different. So the approach is different, the methods are different, the perspective is different, the understanding is different. So if you look at the perspectives, Émile Durkheim used a functionalist approach, simply means how parts of society work together for stability. That's what he is trying to understand through this approach. And each of the thinkers, they approach society through different lens. That's what exactly we mean by perspective. The view, the way in which you see society, right? And Marx used a conflict approach and how inequality and class struggle is driving social change. That's what Marx tried to understand. We'll be seeing that later in detail. Weber used an interpretive approach, and here he is trying to understand how individual meanings and motives that shape the social action. And Mead, if you see, he is using symbolic interactionism. So here he is trying to see how individuals interact to create society. And then if you look at Parsons and Merton, sorry, not Mead, Merton, they use structural functionalism, extended version of functionalism of Durkheim. So here they are trying to identify how systems maintain that equilibrium, maintain the social order, and perform the functions. Okay. Additionally, we'll be seeing, under the influence of Darwin's evolutionary theory, like early sociologists like Marx, Durkheim, you see they both are using evolutionary perspective. When Durkheim trying to explain a division of labor, he's using evolutionary approach, right? Theory of religion also he's using the same. Marx theory of historical materialism is nothing but the application of evolutionary perspective. So broadly, you can say Marx and Durkheim as macro sociologists, they study the large structures, they give importance to society, macro sociologists. Weber and Mead, micro sociologists, they study the individual meanings, motives, emotions, and interpretation. Parsons, Merton, they integrate micro, macro, and they combine this approach, and this is an integrated approach. So this is how you will understand. Now, if you look at the methods, there's something they'll ask you specifically as a question. We'll be discussing that in detail in each of these thinkers. Every thinker not only gave theories and perspectives, but also to that extent, they have contributed to sociology, how sociology should study society also. So their methods also we have seen, right? Durkheim used scientific and quantitative methods. His study of suicide is a classical exhibition of the use of statistical techniques. Apart from that, various other methods also will discuss indirect experiment and all those things. We'll be discussing in his theories of theory of religion, etc. And then Weber, he used a qualitative methods and the concepts of ideal types we discuss, worst hand we discuss, causal pluralism, causal probabilism, comparative analysis, interpretive understanding, all these we'll be discussing in his chapter. And then Marx used a dialectical and historical methods. So he examined how the material conditions shape ideas and institutions. Okay, Weber, it's a different, how ideas shape the other things, right? And when it comes to Mead, he used experimental and observational method, and he's studying interactions and the self-development. Parsons developed abstract theoretical models, and that is what we are going to study in terms of AGIL model, the system theory. Merton used empirical and middle range theories, which is testable also, and he focused on testable propositions like that we will be studying in the theory of anomy and reference group theory also. Now, if you look at the views about individual and society for each of these thinkers, right? See, the question is what comes first, the individual or the society? So Marx give importance to society, Durkheim give importance to society. So you can say Durkheim, when you talk about primacy is given to society. Society exists beyond individuals and it's sui generis. It comes into existence its own and it controls them. So in his theory of social fact, you will see that proper definition also. Marx also give importance to society. So structure of production shape the individual thought. It is the economic infrastructure that shapes the superstructure, according to Marx. And Weber, For him, individual is superior. The social reality is built through the individual's meanings, motives, emotions. For Mead also, individual is supreme. So basically society emerges from interaction among individuals. So like we discussed, Durkheim, Marx were macro sociologists, so they give importance to society. Weber, Mead were micro sociologists, they give importance to individual. Parsons, Merton, they were integrated of both. So that means both individual and society are important for Parsons and Merton. So individuals and society both are interdependent and complementary. So if you are giving importance to any one of this, you are going for a partial understanding of society. So what Durkheim says is, you like see, if I want to give an example, you are doing an action because of societal pressure. You are preparing for UPSC now. Why? Because you have social pressure. What Weber and Mead will say is, you prepared because your personal motivation. The internal aspect is more important. But what person says, on one side you have pressure from society, right? At the same time you have that internal motivation also. This is something I'll discuss in his theory in terms of individualistic aspect and societal aspect, motivational orientation, value orientation, etc. So that shows clearly the micro macro divide in sociology. Now, when it comes to the important theories, in Marx, we'll be studying historical materialism, mode of production, class and class struggle, alienation, and then the critical analysis. In my Durkheim, we are going to study division of labor, suicide, religion, methodology of sociology, and all these. And then Max Weber, we are going to see social action, Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, again, ideal types, worst hand, causal pluralism, probabilism, comparative analysis, and all these aspects. And then G.H. Mead will be studying the theory of self and mind. And Parsons, we are going to see social action, which is an extended version of Weber, and then social system theory. There we are going to see a couple of other important points like moving equilibrium, AGIL model, cybernetic hierarchy of control, etc. And then Merton, we are going to see the functional paradigm, manifest latent functions, reference group theory, theory of anomie, and all these. So guys, from now onwards, we'll go thinker by thinker. We'll start with Marx from tomorrow, and we'll discuss the background, we'll discuss the key concepts, we'll discuss the theories like historical materialism, alienation, etc. And then finally, I'll tell you how to use these ideas in your UPSC answer also. So always remember, if you understand these thinkers deeply, you can handle almost every question in sociology, even any twisted questions they ask, you'll be able to handle it. So that's about this session. I see you in the next video. And in case if you're looking for any mentorship on sociology, test series or classes, get in touch with us. We have the complete solution for your sociology program. Okay.